आ रही है। कर दिया लाइव? गुड मॉर्निंग एवरीवन, गुड मॉर्निंग ऑनलाइन स्टूडेंट्स. So today we will be basically seeing the essay paper which came yesterday, and we'll be basically trying to see the essence of all the questions, that what was the demand of the paper and what examples we could have written, how to interpret the topic. Basic things we will see. We will not go in very detail we will do each topic in class, but today we will try to get idea about all the topics. So let's start. Thinking is like a game. It does not begin unless there is an opposite team. So this is the first topic. Thinking is like a game. So what happens in game? There are two teams. So it is saying in thinking also, it is like when you have somebody countering your argument, countering your thinking, countering your idea. In game you have two teams. And because of that, what happens? Competition. Everybody wants to win. So winner versus loser. This is what happens in game. दो team है, they are competing in themselves. Both wants to win, right? And where it happens? Game can happen in a field. If we see thinking, in thinking also this happens. There is one argument, there is one counter argument. And where it happens? In the field of mind. Game happens in the physical arena, thinking happens in the field of mind, arena of mind. So yes, in that sense we can say thinking is like a game. Why thinking happens only when there is another team, there is opposite team. Sorry, this is team, not theme. Because suppose you have an idea and nobody is challenging that idea. Like I am teaching you people are not asking any question. You are accepting whatever I am telling as it is. Not thinking. You are just writing, you are just following that. The moment you start raising question, you are countering my idea. You have started thinking. Same is this essay. Thinking is like a game. It does not begin unless there is an opposite team. There has to be an opposite idea. There has to be an opposite team. Then only you can start thinking. Because alone you become complacent. You just take an example. There is a team of cricket and there is a friendly match going on. आपस में ही दो टीम बना ली इंडियन टीम ने, and they are playing among themselves. Will they play properly? They know that it is our team only. There is no winner versus loser thing. There is no competition. They know that all of us are same. Compare that to India-Pakistan. when you have two opposite team, what will happen? Best strategy to defeat Pakistan. You start thinking, you start devising methods. Why? Because there is an opposite team. As simple as that. Okay? So that is the essence of this topic. We can take some other examples also from different fields. Because thinking needs what? Thinking needs a stimulus. Thinking needs stimulus. And this competition provides that stimulus to think, so that you can overpower the other team. You can think better than the other team. You can devise a strategy and plans to defeat the other team. How it comes? From thinking. Let's take some example in different arenas. If you take a space sector, before 1950, there is no space race. Nobody was thinking of going to moon, going to Mars, launching their satellites. Nothing was happening. The moment Russia launched Sputnik, in 1957, a satellite, United States started thinking how to counter Russia, how to do better than Russia. As simple as that. And then this race started. And who benefited? The whole world. We are also now sending Chandrayaan 3, Aditya L1. Why? Because this space race, this started thinking all over the world. But till the time there was no opposite team. Nobody was doing it. समझ में आ रहा है? In the same way, you can take examples in different fields also, like science and tech. There is a famous debate of Edison versus Tesla. Edison, you may be knowing, involved with discovery of or invention of direct current, correct. We say electricity, but it was direct current if we technically speak, correct. So when Edison came up with DC and he got it registered, Tesla started thinking, and in 6 years we had AC. Because you want to challenge each other. You have got a competitor. If somebody initiates one thing, the other one automatically starts competing. और जैसे ही compete करना शुरू किया तो discovery शुरू हो जाएगी. And who benefited from this? All of us. We are using DC, we are using AC, and it is going on. As simple as that. So when thinking started, when you had an opposite team, and this whole debate continues after that. So they used to basically fight among themselves, which is better, AC is better, DC is better. In this fight, Edison had electrocuted a elephant also, to show that AC is bad. Elephant को जला दिया बिजली से, to demonstrate that Tesla is wrong, his ideas are not ethical, AC is bad. The idea is Thinking when starts? When you have an opposite team. As simple as that. You take political field. The whole idea of deliberative democracy is based on what? On one hand you have those who are in power, and other hand those who are in opposition. So how parliament works? Those in power, or you can say treasury benches, and those in opposition. The moment a bill comes, opposition starts thinking about the pros and cons of the bill, and the process of deliberative democracy starts. So wherever you see thinking, you see an opposite team, whichever field it is. It can be political, it can be social, it can be science. In the same way, if we see the social fields, there have been injustices since time immemorial. There have been social evils in our society since time immemorial. But when thinking started, when people started challenging those beliefs, when Ambedkar started raising voice for the underprivileged, marginalized, downtrodden. So when thinking started, because those were established ideas and they were going on since ages. Suppose you take untouchability. It was going on for 2000 years. But when people started thinking, when somebody raised a voice against this is established, this is one side. Ambedkar, Periyar, these are the people who raised voices. And the thinking started on this. When thinking started, it was outlawed. Legislation came, it prohibited untouchability. It removed other social evils. So the first step is thinking. Without thinking, you cannot move ahead. In the same way, if you see entrepreneurship, जितने भी business ideas हैं, first Uber came, started an idea. Now we have Rapido. I don't know, many other also came in between. But Ola is the prominent one. So the moment an idea comes, a opposition team starts working, and then the process of, and this benefits whom? This benefits us. Thinking started. Why? Because earlier Uber had monopoly. You can charge the customers as you want. You can give the driver money or not. It depends on you. The commission rate you can decrease and increase. But when you have a competitor in Ola, you have to start thinking that how can you attract customers and drivers. Okay? So in every field this is valid, this is relevant. But then one question comes, does thinking start only when there is an opposition team? Is it really true? thinking can happen also for the sake of thinking when there is no opposition team. When Thomas Alva Edison started thinking about electricity, there was no opposition team. It was his initiative. He felt the desire to invent. He wanted to illuminate the world. So it is not necessary that there has to be always an opposition team. Thinking can happen on its own also. Someone is very motivated, someone has very good ideas, need not have an opposition team. Okay? That can be the counter dimension of this topic. And if thinking happens, what will be the benefit? As we see, in all fields we will be benefited. If we have a legislation, it will be well thought out legislation. If you have a technology, it will be well thought out technology which can help the society at large. As simple as that. If you don't have thinking, you can have problem. You can come up with irrational things, things which have problems. But once you have teams, you start thinking, all the shortcomings will be removed. समझ में आ रहा है? This is the essence of this topic. Moving to the next topic. In fact, one more dimension in this can be, does thinking always happen between two teams? It can happen inside an individual. Many a times we say we are in two minds. I am in two minds. You can have crisis of conscience. You can have dilemmas inside you. Take the example of Lord Ram. When for the first day he was fighting with Ravan, he received several setbacks. And when he comes back, जब आपने रामायण देखा होगा, तो you may correlate. When he comes back, one mind of his is saying, what wrong I have done till now, that I am losing to this Ravan, who is an epitome of only bad things, evil things. But then the other mind which says, you need to fight, you need to struggle. Maybe today you have seen the setback, but this will not continue for long. Ultimately you will win. We say na, Satyamev Jayate. Ultimately truth triumphs. So there can be this opposition team within. So you have to take that dimension also in this essay. In fact, you can also see there can be a problem of mind versus heart. Inside you. Your mind is saying something else and your heart is saying something else. And then you have started thinking what decision to take, because this is the logical thing, this is the emotional thing. So the idea is, it doesn't happen only when there is an opposition team outside. There can be an opposition team inside also, within an individual also, and then also thinking can start. ठीक है? Taking the next topic. Imagination of This essay is when you have a counter argument, as simple as that. If two philosophers are counter argument each other, yes. If they are proposing counter argument, yes. You can simply write, no problem at all. If you see the relevance of this topic at present, what is happening with our youth? We are not thinking. If you see the social media, people are scrolling things without thinking. You are not applying your mind. Why you use social media? You use social media because you get bored. So to come out of boredom, you are using social media. Because nobody wants to remain bored. सबको खुशी चाहिए. Everyone wants happiness. There is a book called Essentialism. In this, the author says, being bored is not a bad idea. Being bored is not a wrong thing. In a day, if you get bored for a time, it is not a bad thing. Because it will make you think. It will make you introspect. It will inculcate mindfulness in you. Because you want to be happy. You are bored at that moment. So you will come out of that. You will start thinking. You will start introspection, reflection on your things. So what is happening with our youth is, the moment they get bored, shift to social media. They are not allowing themselves to become creative. They are not allowing themselves to think, to become mindful. So there is a relevance to this in present context also. बिल्कुल. There can be negative aspect also. Yes. Yes, बिल्कुल. That can be another dimension. बहुत सारे डायमेंशन डिस्कस करने होते हैं. मैं डायमेंशन तो भी डिस्कस ही नहीं कर रहा हूँ. 5-6 डायमेंशंस वी हैव टू डिस्कस. यस, अगर दोनों हैं, दोनों डिस्कस कीजिए, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. ठीक है. सो दिस हैज अ कंटेम्पररी रेलिवेंस ऑल्सो. मूविंग टू द नेक्स्ट टॉपिक. Visionary decision making happens at the intersection of intuition and logic. So first word is, then is the decision making, and where it happens, intersection of intuition and logic. Visionary, you know, for a long term, futuristic, you have that vision, that foresight. If you see the decision making, you already know to take a decision, as simple as that, to take an action. That is decision making. What is intersection? Anyway, for CSAT, you people will be learning this. At the intersection, when the two meet, intuition meets logic. Here happens what? Visionary decision making. Correct? समझ में आ रहा है? Now the question arises it, what is intuition? Correct. your gut feeling. But it is based on some experiences. It is not coming just out of thin air. It's based on your personal experiences. And what is logic? All of you know. Evidence based, rational, objective, that is being logical. Okay? Two people who talk a lot about intuition is Einstein and Steve Jobs. If you see Steve Jobs, his whole life has been driven by intuition, backed with logic. In fact, Einstein goes to the extent of saying that logic is the servant and intuition is the master. Logic must follow intuition. But we have reversed that in the contemporary world. We have made logic the master and intuition the servant. Einstein was such a believer in intuition. But the question is, when intuition is such a good thing, why we need intersection? We can directly go with intuition, leave logic. The idea is intuition provides us the purpose. Intuition provides us the objective. Intuition provides us the goals. Logic provides the method. Logic provides the strategy. Logic provides the planning. That's why a visionary decision maker has to have both. You cannot just go after intuition. You cannot just go with logic. If you go with any of them, there are chances that you will not be visionary. You will fail in your endeavor. That is the essence of this topic. If we take some examples, Sam Manekshaw, heard of him? One of the greatest military leaders India has produced. A rare combination of intuition and logic. A visionary who could see how to defeat Pakistan in 1971 war. You may be knowing his story. What has happened? That Indira Gandhi called him and told him to launch attack on East Pakistan, later Bangladesh. He refused. He refused to fight. Because our ammunitions were not ready. We did not have enough military equipments at that point of time. Plus, the season was also not in favor. If we attack, China may come from the other side. Plus, the monsoons. Monsoons can also interrupt our supplies. So he said, give me some time to prepare. He knew he can defeat. Intuition is there. He knew India will be victorious. But only when you use logic to think. And then he made a very powerful strategic planning how to defeat Pakistan. And the rest is history. A great visionary leader. In the same way, you can take example of Abraham Lincoln for United States. He wanted to remove slavery. But when it came to decide between slavery and union or protecting the integrity of United States, he chose the integrity of United States. He did not go by his intuition. He was convinced that slavery has to be removed for humanity. There is no other way. But only when the United States is protected. If there is no United States, the southern states go out of United States, they will always remain in slavery. So the first thing was to protect the United States, to protect the Union, and then remove slavery, the Emancipation Declaration which came in 1863. So like this you have n number of examples of leaders who demonstrated visionary decision making through the intersection of intuition and logic in different fields. But what if someone is not having intuition, only logic? And what if someone is having only intuition, no logic? Both will not be visionary. Both will lead to failure. Both will lead to incompetent decision making. Generally it is. If it is intuition, so generally it is beneficial because it is based on your personal experience. But if you go overboard with it, आपको लग रहा है कि सब कुछ हो जाएगा, so you have to think logically what is achievable. Suppose you play good cricket, but at this age you think I will become Virat Kohli and you have done no preparation. Your intuition may be right, you are a good player before, but the logic, you have not played for so many years. You have to start now. It will take another 5-10 years to grow into Virat Kohli. तब तक तो आपकी retirement की एज आ जाएगी. Because in cricket after 30 very few people are given chances. So logic has to be there. Only intuition cannot drive you. If you take the example of Dasrath Manji, what he had, mountain man, if you take his example, he was a visionary, no doubt about it. He took a decision to cut the mountain single-handedly. So vision to tha. He succeeded also. But is his decision logical? Who can cut the mountain for 22 years continuously? If you see the logic, it defies logic. Emotions. Intuition plus emotions. He was so emotionally driven because of the death of his wife that he did not want others' wife to die by that way. So it is not just intuition and logic. There can be other things also that can drive your decisions and make them right. ऐसा नहीं है कि सिर्फ यही चीजें हैं. कई बार इमोशंस से भी आदमी इतना मोटिवेट हो जाता है that you persevere for very long because it is not logical. Same with alpha addition. 1000 times fail. Who fails 1000 times? If you see practically, it is not possible. It is not logical. How can you fail 1000 times and still continue? 3-4 attempt में तो लोग छोड़ देते हैं तैयारी. How can you persevere for so long? It defies logic. So many times visionary decision making doesn't need to be only this. You are so sometimes driven, motivated from inside that you defy logic. जो आज सोच नहीं सकते वो कर देते हैं. As simple as that. ठीक है? इसमें आप चाणक्य का भी एग्जाम्पल ले सकते हैं. Intuition and logic. He picked up a guy from the street. Chandragupta Maurya. Who knew Chandragupta Maurya? Nobody knew. He told the then Dhanananda, leader of Nanda dynasty, to listen to him, but he did not listen. Picked up a guy from a street, made him the emperor of India. Intuition plus logic. He knew how to do this, how to plan this, how to execute this, and he had the intuition that yes, this guy can be defeated, and to be defeated for the sake of India. If we have to save India from the Alexander's invasion, it has to be done. So a number of examples is there. Take example of Abdul Kalam and the integrated missile defense program. The intuition that we have to be capable in missile system. There is no other way. If you have to, we have to exist in this world. Because you have Pakistan, you have China, enemies are sitting next doors. And the planning, the teamwork, the execution. So wherever you have visionary decision making, has to be intuition plus logic. But at times, it may not be there. Manji and Edison can be the other examples. ठीक है? You can take example of Sardar Patel also. Very visionary decision maker, united the country. See his logic and intuition. Very firm belief. Intuition is also about belief. You have faith in yourself. In entrepreneur, as I said, Steve Jobs is the best example. Always failed, always fought back. He failed so many times in life, but he had a firm belief in intuition. So he says, you should have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow already know what you truly want to become. Steve Jobs say about intuition. Okay? Moving to the next topic. The counter of this can be an example from Mahabharata. Kauravas and their too much reliance on logic. That we have all the great warriors, Dronacharya, Kulacharya and all this. How will Pandavas fight us? Too much reliance on logic. And when the Krishna intervenes, the game completely changes. So it's not just the logic. Next topic is, not all who wander are lost. What is the topic about? It's about wandering. In general, if we see what wandering means, roaming aimlessly, that is what the perception is. If you look from a society's perspective, wandering is roaming aimlessly. But the topic is the reverse of it. Not all who wander are lost. Generally, those who wander get lost. But it is saying, not all who wander are lost. There are many examples of this. Have you heard about this guy? Rahul Sankirtiyan. He traveled in 46 countries. He is a freedom fighter, a Padma Vibhushan awardee. He knows 10-15 languages. But his whole life, 45 years, he spent in wandering. He went to Tibet, he went to Russia. He knew Russian, he knew French. His whole life is about wandering, but never lost. Why he never lost? Because when you have a clearly defined purpose, when you know why you are wandering, it doesn't remain wandering. It becomes a focused journey, a guided journey. It is wandering only till the times you do not know the purpose. The moment you know the purpose, it doesn't remain wandering. Maybe for the society it is wandering, because you are taking a path which is unconventional, which is deviation from the established one. Buddha can be a good example, yes. Why? Because he left his palace and started wandering. But wandering for what? To know the truth of life. What is the truth of life? In search of that he was wandering. That's why he was not lost. That's what I am saying. He had an aim, he had a purpose. In general, it means wandering aimlessly. But the moment you add a purpose, you do not lose yourself. That's why I said now, unconventional path when you follow. When you take a different path, people think that you are wandering, but you are not in a sense wandering. You are in search of something. Yes. No, you can take intellectual wanderings. In wandering, you can interpret that. One is the physical one is the intellectual one wandering. Thinking from this idea to that idea. You can take the example of Einstein. Intellectual wandering. Yes, they do involve in these things. Yes, accidental inventions are like this only. Like Alexander Fleming. That Newton will come. That is not wandering. Will come in different dimension. There is an essay for Newton also. Vivekananda wandering. Yes, to know the country, yes. Yes. To know the people, to know the nation, yes. All the great leaders you can take. Do not take anybody who doesn't fit in this. As simple as that. Okay? Like all the explorers you can take. There is this guy Francis Drake. Read about him. King told him to explore the Pacific coast. He went on the circumnavigation of the globe. And he was only the second person to do so. Did not get lost. He had the purpose. He knew there were many challenges. He formed storms. He faced storms. He faced the obstacles. Ibn Battuta in Wanderer who was not lost. Yes, you can say. Yes. But he was not lost because we have written evidences of him everywhere. And then serving. Yes, you can write. See, Columbus, Vasco da Gama, these are very common examples which everybody is writing. So you have to write something which is others are not writing. As simple as that. Otherwise सबका ऐसे एक जैसा ही लगेगा. वास्को डी गामा तो मैं अगर जिसने भी अटेम्प्ट किया होगा उसमें से 80% लोगों ने लिखा होगा. Columbus and Vasco da Gama. So you have to differentiate yourself. As simple as. ठीक है? In spirituality, there are a number of examples. हाँ बताइए. Yes, aimlessly roaming है, unconventional path choose करना है. Because I am telling you only the essence now. मैं पूरा बता रहा हूँ. इसमें एक पूरा dimension है कि why they did not wander. You have to answer this. बिल्कुल सही बात है. वो क्यों नहीं wander किए बताना ही पड़ेगा. If you take Buddha, very clear example in spirituality. Same way Mahavir also you can take. They left their palace. In societies, they are what? They are wanderers, taking the unconventional path. Who wants to become wanderer after leaving the palace? But they dared to do so. They thought of doing that. But they were never lost. One attained Nirvana, and other attained Kaivalya. In the same way, you can talk about Lord Ram, 14 years in Banvas. What is that? Wandering only. Spending 14 years in Banvas, people can lose their sanity. What happened to him? He became Maryada Purushottam. He found himself in wandering. He may have become a great king without Banvas, but not Maryada Purushottam without Banvas. हो सकता है वो बहुत महान प्रतापी राजा बनते, बट वो मर्यादा पुरुषोत्तम नहीं बनते. इट वॉज द स्ट्रगल ऑफ दैट 14 years. सेम थिंग यू कैन टॉक अबाउट पांडवास. देयर इज अ फेमस पोएम ऑल्सो ऑफ दिनकर जी. वर्षों तक वन में घूम घूम बाधा विघ्नों को चूम चूम, सहधूम धाम पांडव आए, सहधूम धाम पानी पत्थर, पांडव आए कुछ और निखर. सौभाग्य न सब दिन सोता है, देखें आगे क्या होता है. तो पांडव आए कुछ और निखर. दे बिकेम बेटर बाय वॉन्डरिंग, स्पेंडिंग ईयर्स इन फॉरेस्ट्स. So many a times you are not lost when you wander, because you have aim, you have mentor, you have somebody to guide you. Maybe your purpose can be that guidance, your guru can be that guidance. In the same way, you can also talk about the Jews. If you talk about the Jewish people, they were thrown out from their homeland. Physically, if you see, they were wandering all over the world. Their home was in Middle East. But after Islam, they were completely thrown out from there. They were wandering all over the world, physically wandering. But they never lost their historical root. They knew where they belonged to. Given the chance, in 1948 they established their country. They were not lost. Maybe people thought they were lost, but they were not lost. Isn't it? So these are some of the good examples of people who did not get lost when they were wandering. But there can be also examples of those who were lost. Like if you take our youth, Alexander भी डाल सकते हैं, yes. If you see the examples of those youth, if you see the contemporary relevance, they do not know the purpose of their life. They are wandering from here to there, getting addicted to different things, taking drugs and all, digital addiction. Why? Because the purpose is not clear. The aim is not clear. The moment you know the aim, you will not get lost. So yes, this has a relevance for the contemporary world also. It is also for those people who are accumulating lot of material wealth to become rich and seeking happiness in that materialism. They are not realizing that true happiness is not in wealth, because it is a chimera, it is an illusion which you are chasing. The more you accumulate, there is desire to more. It will never stop. Yes, suicide वाला में भी बोल सकते हैं, but they are too young to think. हाँ, yes, you can say yes. So children, those children who are committing suicides, they should be taught the purpose of life. J is not the purpose. NEET is not the purpose. For that matter, civil service is also not the purpose. Purpose is to become a human being. These are just some of the ways to achieve that. You have thought of civil service as more than your life. NEET and JEE as more than your life. And you start committing suicide. 23 children have died till now in Kota, this year itself. Because they do not know the purpose of life. They have wandered in life. In the arena of life, they have completely wandered. They do not know the true purpose. So yes, you can write. Yes, you can write some wandered to achieve peace. Yes, Buddha also wandered for achieving peace only. Yes, you can write. So it's all about mind. Basically, this is all about the purpose, the mind. Like this, I had given 2-3 topics in our test series. You see this topic. नहीं दिख रहा? Zoom कर दे यार. Defeat is of the mind, and so is the victory. It's all about the mind. If you are clear in your mind, if you know the purpose, you will not get lost. Very similar to the theme. So it's all about practice. In the same way, you see this topic. It is during our darkest moments that we must focus to see the light. When you are wandering, when you have to focus to see the light. Light is what? Light is the purpose, life is the goal. As simple as that. All topics are doable. एक्सीडेंटली मिल सकता है. यस, इट कैन. बिल्कुल, ये अलग डायमेंशन बन सकता है. अब अलेक्जेंडर फ्लेमिंग एक्सीडेंटली फाउंड पेनिसिलिन, तो यस, दैट कैन बी वन डायमेंशन. यस, दैट इज व्हाट डायमेंशंस आर ऑल अबाउट. वी आर जस्ट डिस्कसिंग द कोर डायमेंशन, वी आर नॉट डिस्कसिंग ऑल डायमेंशंस. 5-6 घंटे का हो जाएगा. ठीक है, दिस वाज ओनली टू डेमोन्स्ट्रेट की next topic is inspiration for creativity. Inspiration for creativity springs from the effort to look for the magical in the mundane. The key here is this. Looking for the magical in the mundane. What is mundane? Mundane is something which is ordinary, regular stuff. Can be uninteresting also. Right? Looking for the magical in the mundane, and from there comes creativity, inspiration for creativity. In this you can take the example of Newton. Why? Because he was able to see the magic in the mundane. Apples have been falling on earth since ages. Nobody bothered to see. सेब तो गिर ही रहे थे यार. Very ordinary act. But he was able to see the magic in that. Why is it falling down? Why it is not going up? That was the question. And it led to what? It led to the law of gravity. the discovery of law of gravity. Seeing the magic in mundane, as simple as that. What can be the other examples? If we see the C.V. Raman, you know his story? C.V. Raman, he was once traveling in a sea in 1921. You may have read this in your childhood. And while he was traveling, an idea struck him. He was a nature lover. An idea struck him that why ocean is blue? Why sky is blue? Why everything around me is blue? Seeing the magic in mundane, everybody knew everything is blue. Nobody questioned that. Nobody observed that. And when he started researching on that, we had Raman effect, a scattering of light. Why sky is blue? As simple as that. So you have to see what? You have to see the magic in mundane, scattering of light. In the same way, take the example of Archimedes. People have been bathing in the bathtub for ages, but nobody observed. When you go inside, water is displaced by the same volume as is the volume of your body. And that realization is the eureka moment for Archimedes. Very mundane thing, very ordinary thing, which is there everywhere around us. But we are not observing them. So what is needed? Needed is the ability to see. Do you have that ability to see magic in mundane? How it will come? It will come from sharpening your awareness. When you sharpen your awareness, you become a keen observer. You develop the art of mindfulness, living in the present moment. We either live in the past or in the future. We are never in the present. Many of you may be thinking about the meal. It's already past 12. You are not in present. When you are in present, you are able to grasp the thing in total capacity. Then only you will be able to see the beyond thing. What is beyond normal? That's why it is said, Jaisi drishti, vaisi srishti. You should have that power to see the invisible. That is the ability to see magic in mundane. ठीक है, समझ में आ रहा है? In this, if we see, is there always seeing magic in mundane only leads to creativity? May not be. There are some examples which are very common, like Lotus Temple is there in Delhi. From where they have taken it? From lotus. Basically, it is called biomimicking. You just saw something in nature and you imitated that. So that is also observing the mundane and converted into magic. It can be in architecture. It can be in architecture. There is Sydney Opera House. You may have heard of. From where it is inspired? The architecture. From the peel of orange. All of us are talking about bullet train. Do you know the front portion of the bullet train. From where it is inspired? From the beak of kingfisher. Kingfisher के चोंच से inspired है the nose of bullet train, a Japanese engineer. The idea is to see the magic in the mundane. It is all our ability to see. सब कुछ देखने पे डिपेंड करता है, सब कुछ मैजिकल है, सब कुछ मुंडेन है. It's the ability to see which decides it is mundane or it is magical. As simple as that. Talk about not magic, it is belief. तो हमारा बिलीफ है. राम सेतु जो है आस्था का मुद्दा है, a matter of faith. Yes, one is saying तारे जमी पर, as I told you, that child was very mundane, even he was less than mundane, but it was the ability of the teacher Ram to see the mundane in him, the magic in him, and that transformed the child. Yes, you can write तारे जमी पर, the role of teacher. How you will find this ability? Developing curiosity, developing observational ability, developing the ability to reflect, to introspect. That's how you will be able to see these things. वरना सब कुछ घटित हो रहा है and you are not able to see it. Everything is there in nature. Circular economy you have heard of? From where it is coming? Last year essay was there. Forests is the best case study for economic excellence. It is coming from forest. Nothing goes waste in forest. That's the concept of circular economy. Everything is recycled. Nothing goes in waste. Nothing goes in waste. From where it is coming? From very mundane thing. Forest is there for so many years. But when the need arises, we are able to see magic in mundane. In the same way, see the focus on millets these days. Millet, मोटा अनाज कोई खाता नहीं था यार. People used to feel कि ये तो बेकार है, inferior quality. Nobody used to. Now everybody is after millet. International Year of Millet is there this year. In G20 there is a lot of talk about millet. Very mundane thing has become magical. Once you saw that, once you saw the benefits of eating millet, it is nutritious, at the same time it is climate smart. In drought you can grow. Without fertilizer you can grow. You do not need pesticides. So it is environment friendly also, and it is nutritious for all us also. Ability to see magic in mundane. In all the fields it is there. Yes, oat is also there, but oat is, I think, costly. Millet is so very cheap. You know this LED bulb, from where it is coming? जुगनू देखा है आपने? When this LED bulb was giving less light, they adopted the thing which was going on in Jugnu to increase its brightness. Seeing the magic in mundane. It is from there that creativity is. ठीक है? Clear है? But इसमें एक और भी doubt है. Is it always seeing the magic in mundane which leads to creativity? Not necessarily. There can be n number of scientists who are creating things out of their own, doing research for the purpose of research, not seeing mundane things for magic. They are creating their own models. If you see the relativity of Einstein, there is no other mundane thing to see. He created out of his own intelligence. Extraordinary people. So it is not always that creativity will come from seeing magic in mundane. There can be other people also, scientists also. If you see the vaccine development in COVID-19, when people were dying, will you go for looking mundane things to create magic, or will you save people? mRNA vaccine, DNA vaccine, what are these? They are complex things. They are not mundane things. But that was the need of the hour. So the idea is creativity, yes, you can derive it from mundane thing, but not necessarily always. There can be n number of examples where it is not coming from mundane things. Yes. Creativity है क्या? What is creativity? The ability to create or produce something which is new, which is unique. See the architecture of. You had the guts to imitate that. Lotus has been there for ages. Is there any other lotus temple? They derived that concept. They had faith in that. They thought that yes, it can be a good creative example, good creative architecture. So basically it is an example of biomimicking, taking example from biology and imitating that. But yes, there is creativity. Creativity in poetry, saying magic in mundane. If you take the example of Dushyant Kumar, Adam Gondvi, Hindi poets, on hunger, Dushyant Kumar writes, भूख है तो सब्र कर, रोटी नहीं तो क्या हुआ. भूख है तो सब्र कर, रोटी नहीं तो क्या हुआ. आजकल दिल्ली में है जेरे बहस ये मुद्दा. Very simple topic, hunger. So many people are still hungry. In global hunger index, our ranking is more than 100. But using the creativity of language to reach the masses. In the same way, Adam Gondvi writes about caste discrimination. आइए महसूस कीजिए जिंदगी के ताप को, मैं चमारों की गली में ले चलूंगा आपको. Creativity in language, very mundane things, regular things. Discrimination is there, all of us know. But you should have that power to see magic in mundane. It can be creativity in language also. It can be creativity in paintings also. It can be in n number of fields, as simple as. समझ में आ गया? There is one guy, Ramchandra Sharma. You may be knowing about Jaipur Foot. नहीं सुना तो बताता हूँ. Jaipur Foot is some organization which makes prosthetic legs for those who are disabled. He was owner of a cycle shop, and one day he was making puncture of a tire, and the idea struck him, when you can support cycle with a stand, why can't we support the people with prosthetic legs? Seek the magic in mundane. And now he is the owner of Jaipur Foot. Ability to see magic in mundane. आप सबके चारों तरफ है. Just start observing. Movie? Yes. Yes. He created a magic out of it. Yes. That's why somebody has said, world is full of magical things, patiently waiting for our senses to grow. World is full of magical things, patiently waiting for our senses to grow sharper, so that we can observe those magical things. That's all in this. Taking the next topic. So this topic basically I had covered this curiosity in one essay, basically coming from there only. See, the main spring of genius is basically the curiosity, which is the basis of creativity. So the relevant things, if we cover in essay, it becomes easy. Directly it will not come, but the theme will be similar. If you can cover the similar things, it becomes easy. As simple as that. Next topic, section B. Girls are weighed down by restrictions. This though I have discussed with you people also. Boys with demands. Two equally harming disciplines. Harmful disciplines. This is easy to interpret also. Girls are under restrictions and boys are under demands. There is a very good poem by Prasoon Joshi, Babul. You may have read it. If you have not read, go through it. In Babul, he says, in Babul, he writes that Babul is the father of that girl or that daughter basically. So the girl says, do not get me married to a jeweler. Do not get me married to a jeweler because I do not like jewelry. Do not get me married to a businessman because I do not like money or wealth. Do not get married, do not get me married to a king because I do not like power. Get me married to a blacksmith who can melt my chains. Chains, the chains of restrictions. बेरियां जो जकड़ी हैं उनके चारों तरफ, जो उनको पिघला सके. Get me married to a blacksmith. This is all about that. The restrictions we have imposed on girls. As simple as that. And in this, you can take the life cycle approach. From childhood. From childhood. From childhood till adulthood. How we have imposed restrictions on girls. Poet of Babul, Prasoon Joshi. Prasoon Joshi is the poet. It is in Hindi basically. I have translated in English. हो गया? सेटल्ड, पेज मिल गए, ठीक है. What are the restrictions on girl when they start going to school? Restrictions: go to school, come back to school, do not interact with others, do not involve yourself in extracurricular activities, do not take sports. If somebody does that, घर में रहो. The moment she returns back, get involved in household chores. If you take the example of a boy, what happens to him? Study hard. You have to be successful. There is no other way. Encouragement in sports, only if the guardian believes that he can do well in sports, otherwise join tuition. Focus on study. No sports. As simple. Demand. Because you are putting demand on boy. When the girl wants to study science, take arts, what you will do with science? Ultimately, you have to get married. Restriction on choosing the subject. Restriction on choosing the profession. Become doctor. Don't become engineer. Civil engineering, only boys' job. Military, for boys. So restriction on profession also. Yes, for marriage also. The arranged marriage is a beautiful example. How to put restrictions on both men and women. ये तो दोनों पे है. It applies. ये टॉपिक भी करवाया था. Basically, patriarchy is the peace in patriarchy is war against women. बताया था ना आप लोगों को. Related to this, because basically about the social norms, the patriarchal norms. Women has to be soft spoken, yes. They cannot be assertive about their rights. You have to behave in a certain way to look like girl. So basically the gender roles which society has assigned is about that. How we have restricted women, their ability to move, their ability to choose a profession of their choice, their ability to choose a spouse of their choice. Everything is restricted. For that matter, all these religious things, especially in Hinduism, mainly meant for women. जितने भी व्रत हैं सब कौन करता है? Only women. Why men do not do fast? करवा चौथ लड़कियां ही क्यों करती हैं? पुरुष भी तो कर सकते हैं. यस, कास्ट तो वैसे भी चेंज नहीं होता, बट यस जो टाइटल है, जो सरनेम है, यस यस. Even if they succeed in their life, there is glass ceiling, restriction on pay. You cannot grow beyond a level in leadership role in companies. You have a glass ceiling to stop. And there is no equal pay for equal work when it comes to women. Plus the pink collar jobs, which we had discussed that day. They are meant for women. Nursing, care economy, all these are meant for women. So the idea is we have put lot of restrictions on them. If we see the reproductive health of women, that is also under restriction. That is also governed by the choices of men. If you see the patriarchal setup, things are changing. Things are changing. I'm not saying they are not changing, but yes, that's how the patriarchy is. If you see the phenomena of Sarpanchpati, which we had discussed, even where the restriction has gone, they are politically elected, but who is governing? Who is ruling on her behalf? Who is taking decisions? Men, her husband. So restrictions are there. Then restrictions are there on women because of also safety and security concerns. because they are not safe outside. So that is also one of the problem. That is also whose responsibility is safety? It is the government's responsibility. It is the responsibility of the state, and it is the responsibility of the society to produce a conducive environment, enabling environment where women can thrive, where women can grow. So the idea is girls are weighed down by restrictions. If we see the other side, boys are politically less representation, yes. Dressing sense also, yes. Many times dressing sense is also questioned. But then it is also the responsibility of women to see what dress is appropriate for what place. There was a case of some girl traveling in metro recently, after which the Delhi Metro released a guideline that the dressing in Delhi Metro has to be decent. So the restrictions and freedom, that's both ways. आपको वो भी देखना है कि freedom should not become license. कुछ भी आप करना शुरू मत कर दो. Yes, dressing sense also you can write. And what happens when you remove restrictions from women? You have n number of examples where women are performing at par with men or even better than men. You can quote an example. Yes, Sudha Murthy is one good example. The women associated with Aditya L1 mission can be another example. Women in sports who are doing fantastic, they can be another example. Yes, fighter pilots can be another example. Yes, in UPSC also they are doing good. Yes, wrestling, generally considered the sport of men. There also women are performing very well. So yes, weightlifting, boxing, wrestling. So yes, Nika honor, all these you can write. Geeta Phogat, yes, very right. Now let's take the case of boys with demand. What are the expectations from men? Just like the patriarchy imposes restrictions on women, it imposes demands on men. They have to be the sole breadwinner. They have to earn. That is their responsibility. They have to excel in their professions. There cannot be looking back. They have to have hyper masculine quality. They cannot cry because they have to be men. Men are like this only. They cannot express their emotions because they are stronger. That's how the patriarchy sees men and women. Women are a weaker sex, men are a stronger sex. That's how the patriarchy sees it. So men cannot cry. They cannot express their emotions. Yes, you have to look for your family. And what happens to this? Because of this to men, they also develop issues. Just like women face challenges, men also face physical and mental health issues. If you see the suicide rates, they are more for men than women. Why? Because all the demands on men, all expectations from men. The moment they fail to fulfill those, they commit suicide. We are not teaching them to become human. Being emotional is not a bad thing. Crying is not a bad thing. It can happen with anybody. What is wrong about it? But society has put these demands on men. They have restricted the areas for men also. They can show anger. Yes, anger is not restricted. They have the freedom to express anger. They can be angry. But the other emotions, but if they don't do this, what will happen? This reflects that they are not emotionally intelligent. Their emotional quotient is poor, which will harm them in the long run, which will not help them succeed in life. Because if you see the people who succeed in the world, it is more than the intellect, it is the emotional quotient which drives them. how you handle emotions, how you deal with pressure, how you manage stress, how you handle competition. All these things come from where? Emotional intelligence, emotional quotient. But जब आपने emotions को ही रोक दिया, so they cannot become intelligent. So it is placing demands on boys. Very good example is Dr. G movie. Any of you heard of Dr. G movie? What happens is the boy becomes or chooses gynae as a field for medicine. Gynae is for treatment of women. Traditionally, it is accepted that only women choose the field of gynecology. But here, that guy chooses gynecology. And then everyone starts asking him. And it reaches the extent to which he says, next year I will change to orthopedics. I am studying for that. He doesn't want to become orthopedic. He doesn't know the O of orthopedic. He has no interest. But because of the societal demands, you conform to the demands of the society, the belief of the society. He is forced to think that way. So yes, these movies also show the mirror to society. They also reflect the truths of society. Yes, yes, this is also there. That only men will save women. Women can also save men. That physical strength wala part. Now the women are excelling in all fields. If you want to really compete, see this wrestler women. Can you fight with them? They will throw you. So women can be equally powerful. As simple as that. So the idea is, yes, in Gunjan movie, women saved men. Yes, you can write. No issues. And how it harms them? Girls do not reach their potential. They do not choose the field of their excellence. Similar thing with boys. Boy may be going for fashion. He may be wanting to pursue a profession which is traditionally considered a women field. Just I talked about gynae. But he is not allowed to do so. Similarly, if you see the same-sex marriage, boys are forced to marry a woman, even if the sexual orientation is gay. As simple as that. Because society thinks that men can never be gay. As simple as that. So the demands of the society has to be fulfilled, and it harms both. Why? Because suppose a boy who is having gay orientation gets married to a woman, divorce is fixed. He will have a divorce because he doesn't have interest. So it harms whom? It harms the boy, it harms the girl to whom he is getting married, and in the long run it harms the family. So whether to not put demand on him, let them take their decisions based on their choice, their interests. Then boys have demands, dowry. You have to bring lot of dowry. You excel in your professional career. Why? Because lot of dowry will come. The motivation. See the motivation. What type of society we are? We need to change. We need to improve. Everything needs to change. Otherwise, these are harming both men and women both. Now if you see the cooking, which is traditionally considered a women occupation, now cooking is being done by men, and so many cooks we have, they are excelling in their field. On YouTube channels, if you see, they have followers in millions, which is considered a field of traditionally women. So if someone has interest, we should let them pursue that. We should not stop them. As simple as that. Next topic we'll be taking. हाँ, देखिए, जॉब जो करना है दोनों करना चाहते हैं, ये तो इंडिविजुअल की चॉइस होनी चाहिए ना. You want to become civil service. If you do this out of your choice, there are chances that you will succeed. If a parents force you to become engineer only, you become civil engineer, you become civil servant, there are chances that you may not succeed. So earning is okay, but what type of earning? And earning can be done by both men and women. In fact, that is a better proposition. If women also start earning, it is easy to support the family because both members are earning. It supports men also. Because of this demand, you are not allowing women to earn and you are forcing men to earn more to fulfill all your needs. So if both work, nothing good than that. So the next topic is mathematics is the music of reason. If we see the mathematics, what is mathematics? All logical, right? So that's why they have compared this to music, not music, reason. That is the catch here. It is the music of reason. It is not music. If you take mathematics, all the formulae, all the theorems, arithmetic, geometric, everything is what? Mathematics. Whatever you have studied till now in maths, everything is mathematics. What is music? It is a pattern of notes. All the ragas if you take, क्यों उनमें लय है? Why there is flow? Why there is rhythm? Because they are in a pattern. It is not random. That's why it is saying mathematics is the pattern of reason, logic. There is a pattern to this. So music is not the focus of this. It is the reason, the rationality. If you take some of the mathematicians, they are also very good philosophers. Suppose you take Newton. A philosopher and a mathematician. Both ways. You can take Descartes. You take Leibniz. Those who are from engineering may have read Leibniz equation in engineering. Leibniz. Yes. All these are what? Philosophers. And philosophy is based on what? Reason. They never accept a thing until it is logically proven. That's why every time a philosopher gives some argument, a counter argument will be given by another philosopher. Because it is based on critical thinking, it is based on reasoning. That's why this essay is saying mathematics is the music of reason. If you have to understand mathematics, you have to understand the reason, the rationality, because nothing in mathematics is irrational. It is very clear. All the equations you see, all the formulas, there is a pattern. You take any formula, and find out the solution. There will be a pattern to that. It is not random. As simple as that. For that matter, in this essay, writing 1200 words is difficult. And every year UPSC one or two topics ask like this. So the idea is not to attempt this. You understand the concept, but इसको attempt मत कीजिए. As simple as that. क्योंकि जब जिसमें आपके पास उतना कंटेंट नहीं है, we cannot read philosophy to understand mathematics is the music of reason. So better is attempt another topic. But yes, you understand why it has been called. Because there is a rhythm in mathematics, rhythm of logic, rhythm of rationality. Everything is very objective in mathematics, as simple as that. Okay? Coming to the next topic. A society that has more justice is a society that needs less charity. A society that has more justice is a society that needs less charity. So basically, if we see, it is saying justice is inversely proportional to if justice increases, charity will decrease. If justice decreases, right? But why it happens? Why more justice leads to less charity, and why less justice leads to more charity? Yes. Yes. If we take any field, suppose you take the distribution of resources, or for that matter you take the caste system. Here you can interpret charity in a number of ways. Like it can be subsidies, it can be affirmative actions, it can be freebies, right? It can be corporate social responsibility. Can be anything, related thing. In essay you have this liberty, you can expand the term. So if it can be any of these things, Suppose you take the social justice first, and you take caste discrimination. What is happening? Just because you were not able to ensure equality in social spheres, there have been continuous injustice for last so many years. You are required to provide affirmative action to uplift those societies which have been left behind, who have been discriminated against, because there was no social justice. Same way, just we discussed gender injustice. If you see gender injustice, why there is demand for women reservation in parliament? Why there is women reservation in panchayats? Because there have been injustices against women since ages. So we want to correct that. So if there is less justice, there is more charity. For more larges you have to give affirmative action and reservation. Take the example of farmers. Take the example of farmers. Why we are giving subsidies to them? Because we are unable to provide the price of their crops. They are not getting the price they deserve. They are not getting the market to sell their products at the right price. There is whole system of bicholia intermediaries who do not allow the farmers to reap the benefit of their crop production. So we are giving what? Charity. And after giving this also, we have what? Sides of farmers. Because charity is having very short-term impact. It doesn't have long-term impact. Once you give charity, again you will give charity. It is not sustainable. This is not long-term solution. Yes, yes. That will be the solution, yes. Because these are not long-term solution. These are very short-term cheese. So when it is short-term thing, the charity, it will not help you in the long run. The same way, if we see, there is an example of Microsoft versus Apple. What had happened? That Apple had invented something and Microsoft stole that and got it registered before Apple. And because of that, lot of controversy happened. And Microsoft was going down. When this happened, they started Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, you may have heard about. It is coming from there, the origin. You stole something, you had negative publicity. This is an example of what? Injustice, right? And to correct that, you have started a foundation. They are doing good now. There is no doubt about it. They are contributing a lot. But how it all began? It all began with this injustice. So, more injustice, less charity, less injustice, more charity. But why it happens? Happens because if you ensure justice, people are less dependent they have rights when they are less dependent they have rights, they have dignity. All this will happen when there is justice. So there are chances that they will not seek charity. There will not be any need for charity. You have your own resources. You have your own rights, your own dignity. Why will you seek charity? You will not seek charity, as simple as that. And there will be also less need of it in the society. And problem with charity is it is not uniform. It is once in a while measure, because it depends on one who is doing charity. He may provide, he may not sometimes provide. So you cannot depend on charity as a reliable thing. As simple as that. And why it is happening? If you see the origin of society, earlier we had tribal society. Everybody had equal resources because community ownership, no need for charity. If we see the tribal society, equal distribution of resources, no need for charity. As the property rights, the private property rights started developing, because in tribal society everything is owned by the community, but here when you have this private property rights, what will happen? You want to accumulate more wealth, more property, and this will lead to what? More inequality. When there is more inequality, there will be need for more charity, because those who are on the bottom strata, they will need help. To take the example of Industrial Revolution, it created wealth, but wealth for whom? Capitalists? Because of this, there arose the need for welfare of labor. Because they were not getting the wages they deserved, the wealth was continuously being accumulated by the capitalists. So this inequality, it is leading to what? Now what we talk about, corporate social responsibility. Because here it is unequal distribution, as simple as that. In the same way, if we see the colonies, first British came, they made all these countries their colonies. South Asia, Africa, Southeast Asia, Latin America. After establishing colonies, what they said? We have given you railway. We have given you telegraph. We are giving you technology. Why? Because we are perpetuating injustice on you. This is the largesse, the charity you were getting, which they termed as white man's burden. There is no white man's burden. It was basically our resources which they were taking. But they told that this railway, telegraph, all these are why? Charity for injustice. To console us Indians, कुछ दे रहे हैं आपको. Colonialism is not without benefit for you. ठीक है? If we see the example of environment also, you take climate change. Recently in G20 also there was talk of climate change. Take the example. In last 200 years, developed countries have benefited from this. Their lifestyle, if you see, it is energy intensive. If you see the consumption of electricity by or power by an average American, it is I think more than 3-4 times that of India, maybe more than that. But when now they are realizing that environment has been degraded, so they are telling us, the developing countries, we will give you green climate fund and you mend your ways. Means we should change our economy, we should transition to renewable energy. Otherwise what? Otherwise we will impose tax on your goods. Carbon border management, which the EU talks about. नहीं भी पता है तो कोई बात नहीं. But point is, if first you do injustice, you do climate injustice, and then in the form of funds, green climate funds and these funds, you try to placate us. As simple as that. So basically, the idea is, if there is more injustice, there is less need for charity. अगर injustice होगा तो आपको charity करनी पड़ेगी. The last topic is education is what remains. After one has forgotten. That what one has learned in school. So what is the idea in this essay? Simple. It is about education, but which aspect of education it is talking about? See, education is what remains, very important word, after one has forgotten what one has learned in the school. So first thing is what you learn in a school. Many things you learn. If you see the formal school system, you learn many things, many subjects you learn. Lot of information. Lot of information you get, but will you able to remember this information? the facts, the information which you receive in school, will you be able to remember these things? You will forget these things. What will be left with you? Let's take an example. There is a story, right? Many stories in our value education book. You learn this story. You tend to forget this story. But if you imbibe the value which was there in that story, it will remain with you throughout your life. Moral of the story. Suppose you read about a scientist, the information part. You may forget the information part of that scientist, but the scientific temper may remain. Which you imbibed from him. If you take the environmental education, if it is practice based, if it is experiential, you may forget the exact lesson, but if you have yourself planted trees, you have participated in a plantation drive carried by your school, you will imbibe the value of environmental ethics. You will always try to remain or work in harmony with nature. Idea is the information part, the factual part, you may forget, but you will be knowing these things, the life skills. Basically, this essay is about life skills. Which you learn in the school. You do not forget that life skill. And then there is role of teacher, very important role. If he is able to inculcate those life skills in you. I still remember many chapters of my Hindi class only because of the teacher. In 9th, 10th, I had read Neev Ki Eent, Main Aur Mera Desh, Mootha Aam. I don't know, so many chapters. I still remember. How I remember poems. I read so many years back. Learnt in school. So if we read poems, right? We read stories. We may forget these poems and stories, but not the language we learnt. The communication skill we learnt. The ability to read, write, produce our arguments. We may forget the poem and stories, but we will remember these things. Suppose in school, these days there is this school parliament. Debates and discussions which happen in school. You may forget the topic of the debate which happened in school, but you will remember the art of articulation. How you put your views. This is not just about, communication is not just about speaking. It is more about listening. Are you able to listen to the other point of view? These are the life skills. Art of communication, articulation. That is the demand of this essay, that you may have forgotten what you learned in the school. But education is not about that. It is not about information. It is about the life skills which you learned in the school, which will remain with you throughout your life. समझ में आ रहा है? Like if we see what remains, so basically education is not warehousing of information. Because you will forget this. That's why it is said that, in fact, Socrates had said this, education is not the filling of vessel, rather it is kindling of the flame. Education is not about accumulating information, filling the vessel, rather it is about the curiosity. Teachers inculcate in you the desire to know, the desire to explore. It is kindling of the flame. Once it is there, you will yourself find everything. एक बार आपके अंदर ये हो गया, जिज्ञासा जिसको बोलते हैं, once you develop this, the rest is history. You will become a master in whatever field you chooses. That is the goal of education. That is the demand of this essay. Like if we see mathematics, many formula we read, but we forgot those because we do not practice. But the basic things which we use on daily basis, the life skills, we remember that. The banking related issues, the finance related issues, the mathematical ability we learned in our childhood, that we use now. Other formulas we forget because that is not for our purpose now. So idea is the behavioral knowledge, the knowledge which is helpful for living a good life, that we remember, that we do not forget. That is what is education all about. The ability to self-reflect, the ability to introspect, ability to think critically. These are the things we learn in education, which we do not forget with time. Other things we tend to forget. That is the demand of this essay. All the values you can write in this. Vidya dadati binyam is one Sanskrit sloka. You may have learned this in school, but if you really imbibe this, you will remain humble throughout your life. Because the true knowledge is in knowing that you know nothing. Because the ocean of knowledge is so deep, it is deeper than the Mariana Trench. Whatever you study, you will not be able to remember, you will not be able to cover every subject. So the idea is the things you learn in your childhood. It can be humility, it can be the art of forgiveness. This is very helpful in your life, forgiveness. Otherwise you carry a grudge, so it harms you more rather than the other person. And when it can be inculcated in your schools, as I told you, it can be about emotional intelligence, ability to manage your emotions, your stress during competition. These are the life skills you learn in schools. But the problem is we do not learn these things in school. That's how our schooling system is. It is based on rote learning. where it's all about exam centric excellence. You just pass the exam, you score well, you do not learn life skill in schools. And that's why we have now National Education Policy 2020, because there is a recognition in government also that what is going on is not right. We need to inculcate these life skills, these values. Like you learn sports in school, you may forget the dimension of cricket field, you may forget the dimension of badminton and football field, but you remember the teamwork you did in your schooling while playing cricket, because sports is a very good example of teamwork, how you coordinate with each other to win for the team. The idea is what is not forgotten. But for that, the teaching also has to improve. Teaching को भी improve करना पड़ेगा. Otherwise, you will not be able to achieve these things. Right? Like experiential learning, if we talk about, is there experiential learning in a school? Not there. If you have read NCERT carefully, after every chapter, in between chapter, there is practice. Practice this, practice that. We never do that. We only read rote learning. So that will not imbibe values. Only when we practice that we imbibe values, because the values based on practice remains with us for long. जो चीज हम practice नहीं करते हैं, we tend to forget that, क्योंकि वो सिर्फ information है. ठीक है? That's all I think about this. In this connection, Kalam ji has said a very good thing, that creativity is the key to success in future, and primary education is the place where citizens should be inculcated this value of creativity. So our education should inculcate creativity in the children. Once creativity is inculcated, you will not forget this throughout your life. So yes, लाइफ स्किल्स के ऊपर जो स्किल्स आप लर्न कर लेते हैं वो आपको लंबे समय तक काम आता है. अदर थिंग्स यू टेंड टू फॉरगेट. So this essay is about this. So that's all for today. We have completed all the 8 topics of essay, and hopefully you people did not feel very tough. Doable है, we can do. चलिए, that was the aim, that it should not feel कि these are not doable, not attemptable. We can easily do these things with practice and learning. Thank you everyone.